Hello, my friends. Welcome to the ThePCelitist. My name is Woodsie.
My name is Shepherd.
And this is part one of our 9-part series of how awesome PlanetSide 2 is. And it's just a beta. That's Shepherd's...
I texted him a couple days ago saying, can we do this series about how many things PlanetSide 2 does well? And it's only a fucking beta.
No, this is not part one of that series. That's forthcoming.
Yes. Indeed.
Probably not.
What are we talking about?
Okay, we are talking about the future next year. We're going to do some
prognostication.
Yes, exactly. So, it seems to be that the rumor mill is really turning and that there will be some sort of Xbox system. We know there will be a new one, but it looks like 2013 is the day. Now we're getting... the year. Christmas of 2013.
Okay.
That will be the time that
commemorate
this thing will come out.
Jesus' birthday with a new Xbox.
That's right.
Yes.
There's some question out there still about how powerful this thing would be because there's conflicting information. But we were just discussing how the technological gap...
Well, before we get there,
okay,
you made the point that in order for this game to have a successful launch, developers have to have already begun making games for this.
True.
So there are people making games right now for this system.
There would seem to be
yeah, because otherwise, yeah,
it seems like there would have to be, right?
Yeah, the console would launch and it'd be like, you can still play your 360 games on this. They haven't been optimized, but
everyone play Perfect Dark Zero. So yeah, someone's making games for this, but there's these odd thing. You know, the waters are not quite ripe for the Xbox, or a new console. Sony produced a game, PlanetSide 2, and they don't seem to have any intention to put it on a console that we know of.
On their own console.
On their own console. Epic Games is the only game slated to come out on their new Unreal 4 engine is a PC exclusive. It's been said to be a PC exclusive. So the PC has some fertile ground right now. And the question I asked you was, do we have enough momentum to avoid getting tethered to whatever technology Microsoft brings out on their new system, and just be its own thing?
I think one of the things you were about to say before I so graciously interrupted you was that a technology gap. I'll let you finish your thought. Go ahead.
The technology gap will shrink, but how much will it shrink? Because we're way ahead right now, and the specs that have come out for the Xbox aren't exactly stellar.
Yeah, no matter, they could be completely off base, but what we're hearing, it's a very solid hardware setup.
Right.
It's not top-of-the-line PC, but again, they're not going for power users. They're going for an economical box.
Right.
But what they're coming out with is just a massive upgrade from the Xbox 360.
It is a massive upgrade, but just looking at it from a hardware perspective, a year from now, it's going to be old news to PC people. Mm-hmm. So the question is, again, like I just mentioned it, is, how much momentum will we have, because we're in this kind of renaissance by the time that happens? Or are we just going to feel like it was 9 years ago when it's like, okay, now everything's a console game and we're just getting ports now?
I think that the technology gap will shrink significantly, but not close. I think you would agree. I think that whatever hardware these new consoles come out with, or just one console, we don't know yet about Sony, but I think that, as I said, it's going to be a significant upgrade, and relatively speaking, it's going to blow the doors off of what console games can and are doing now.
Right.
Because they're using and we've discussed it, everyone's discussed it, they're using old hardware. And they've come out with games that are, frankly, pretty impressive in terms of graphics and animation based on that old hardware. And given this new platform, I think we're going to actually see some very impressive things come out of the console game market. And they'll rise almost to the level of what a lot of PC games are doing. Now, remember, we talk about, we're PC-elitists. That's our name, and that's what we are. That's what a lot of you are. But at the same time, PC-only developers, they're not making games just for power users. They know that there are plenty of people out there still running dual-core, still running only for 2 or 4 gigabytes of RAM, still running older video cards. So they're not producing games. They have a bottom line. not just in terms of bottom line in terms of making money profit margin, but they have a lower least common denominator of people who are using PC hardware that is not that much more advanced than Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3 hardware.
Right.
So that technology gap, I think right now it's a little smaller than we may think, and when the new consoles come out, it could end up being very close. Because that's one of the things I do love about the PC is I can be an economical PC gamer, or I can be a mid-range gamer, which I am now, or I could put a hell of a lot of money into a system and just have everything on max all the time.
Right.
I like that there's that modularity, and there's a community that speaks to that. Everyone on console, to their credit, is playing a consistent experience. It's all the same.
Right.
But the point I really want to get to is, let's assume there is a severe shrinking of the technology gap, and developers on any platform are able to make games that are fairly comparable. They're in the same band of graphical performance, particularly just processing power in terms of how games are made. What I'm wondering is if it becomes an all things being nearly equal phenomenon, which I think it will be. This is just my opinion. To me, then the entire question is not about what PC people have been relying on, myself included, for the last several years, of only talking about how superior the hardware is.
Right.
And I think too many PC people only cling to that.
I was about to get to that point
and I think that's when you become, you corner yourself as a fanboy. And you allow yourself to be labeled as that when you only talk about hardware's better, meh.
Right.
When we're trying to say that the games tend to be, usually are better when they're just on PC. What I'm thinking is, before I turn it over to you,
okay,
I'm getting to the point. What I'm thinking is, if it's an all things being equal situation in terms of hardware and technology, will the distinguishing characteristic, the prime differentiator, be the quality, the actual quality of the games made? So let's say everyone, no matter the platform, can have a beautiful looking game. Who has a better story?
Right.
Who has better RPG elements? Who has a deeper shooter? I'm wondering if this could actually help and make better games. Because if you have more developers who are all now working with fairly comparable hardware, be it different platforms, I'm wondering what the effect is on the actual games we're seeing made.
Right.
And how well they're written, how well they're produced, how well they're thought out. And our eternal question, do the developers themselves enjoy playing the game? To me, that's where I think we're heading in the next 3 years.
Of course, that's always been my question, especially when we're like reviewing games, or does this feel like a game that the developer said, I want to play this game, therefore I'm making it? Which, you can always kind of feel when it's just like it was a job for them.
Yeah.
You kind of feel that.
Oh, you mean Diablo 3?
Yes.
Gotta pay that rent.
But there are game types, like, let me ask you a question, because I only bring it up because we've been playing it. PlanetSide 2. Mm-hmm. Very PC-ish in its difficulty.
It's massive.
It's
a massive
huge.
game.
It's a massive game.
It's just a beta.
In the skill set required,
mm-hmm.
You can't be a kiddie shooter when you go into this game. There's
a
lot of high skill set
but
people.
You will die.
Yes, you will die all the time.
Yeah.
If, let's say, a console came out tomorrow that could just support it outright in technology,
mm-hmm.
what do you think would need to change based on control scheme that would change the pace of the game? I mean, you consider how often you use the map just to manipulate maps, menus, all sorts of stuff. I mean, that's generally where pacing comes into play of what you could do on a console, because that's a lot of people's problems with a lot of RPGs nowadays. Is just like paper dolls are like gone, where you just click and drag, put stuff on your guy, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But we always have these menu systems that have like an E next with it. It's equipped, and I hate that.
Mm-hmm.
Because this does interrupt the pace of the game. How often I'm manipulating my inventory and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So a game like PlanetSide, can it be directly ported, or does it need a lot of massaging to keep the same experience?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it comes down to, I guess I'll have 2 points to make. One is to answer your question. It's something I neglected to think about when I made my point earlier. It comes down to the differentiator being the quality of games, but also the whatever limitations or just plain differences, not necessarily better or worse, the plain differences in the control mechanism. I don't really know for sure how much it would change, given the fact that honestly, the way things change this quickly in this game, you constantly have to check your map and see what the hotspots are and what's changing, who's capping what. Having an interruption, but at the same time, the fact that it's easier for me to do that on the mouse and keyboard, I don't know. Perhaps it would be the same type of game, just a little slower.
Right.
But to me, even if that's the case, it would still be a great game. And what I'm wondering is, because we talk about how porting a game to a console generally drags down a PC game from what it was initially.
Right.
If the gap shrinks significantly, there's not that much of a cliff to fall off of. So maybe if you do port a game from PC to console, the only differentiator then won't just be performance and graphics. It'll be control mechanism.
Right.
So perhaps, where you have 2 or 3 different significantly distinct buckets of, performance, graphics, controls.
Right.
If you eliminate 2 of those and only focus on controls, I don't know what it would look like, the change, but I'd be intrigued to see.
So the theory is that if the technology gets close enough, it can only be good for gaming because then you clarify the discussion.
Yes, because let's say, and this is completely arbitrary off the top of my head, let's say on some objective rating scale, a PC game comes out and it's at a 50, but to port it, you make the game a 20 because of where the hardware is at. If the hardware changes such that a PC game is a 50 and the porting it makes it a 40 or 45, the average that game is going to be cross-platform is much higher.
Right.
So it's entirely possible that porting a game will frankly get easier. And even if it doesn't get easier, maybe the user experience will be similar. Me playing Battlefield 3 on the computer will be fairly similar to a guy playing it on the new Xbox, except for the difference in control scheme. So to me, I think that's, if you kind of like in methodology, if you control for certain variables, if we control for performance and graphics, maybe we'll find out just how different the control scheme makes a game.
Right.
Because then we will know for sure that the technology is close enough to where the only significant difference is what are you using to control.
Right. So leap enough forward, there's another discussion to be had.
Because
it's a very interesting time. If it's not close enough, then we're just back where we were. Supposedly. And the thing is that like in a year from now, will there have been a strong enough PC community and game developers who just like the openness of the platform? Again, that's another aspect of just indie developers like Heroes and Generals who just, the platform is open enough to just make a game. But again, that aside, if it's all equal, it's just a control scheme difference. If it's close enough, then we really see what matters in control scheme. And if it's not close enough, then we'll just have that dragged down feeling that this game will never really know. Yeah,
that's true. And I'm wondering if you'll see an even greater split. I mean, maybe we'll see fewer ports and developers saying, we don't really need to port your game. I mean, the blockbusters will always be ported.
Right.
Because that's just how you make the most return on your investment. But I'm wondering if there will be more indie console developers who want to make a game that looks great, runs well, but is designed for a control scheme that is a handheld controller.
Right.
So maybe there'll be a rise in the console indie game market. And
it's pretty big now.
Yeah, exactly. But like, for example, free to play becoming very popular with PC games.
Yeah.
Will we see more free to play on consoles?
Did you see that thing?
No.
You don't know what the Ouya is?
It doesn't sound real.
I'll show you the Ouya.
Ouya.
Yeah.
Go home. Anyway.
As always, we toss the ball to the viewers' hands.
Yes.
Just your thoughts on the continuation of the PC market after new consoles arise. Also, just a quick thought. I haven't heard anybody really mention this, that the specs on the new Xbox, how much of that is dedicated to running they're going for this very virtual reality type of thing. So it's got to take processing power to do that. And that seems to be the focus of this new system, supposedly. So does that eat into your UI, your graphics, and all that other good stuff? So anyway, just your thoughts. Yeah. Again, subscribe, thumbs up. If you have any subjects you want us to talk about, just let us know. And again, we don't promise to do them all, but we liked other ideas.
And if you want to expand upon anything we discussed here and don't feel that the comment section is appropriate for it, feel free to send us a message. We'll do our best to get back to you.
Absolutely. My name is Woodsie.
My name is Shepherd. This is the PC Elitist, signing out.